Woohoo! We are live! Yay! This is Math 40 Elementary Algebra. This is 1.7. We were in the middle of working with exponents. We finished exponents. Now we're going to talk about order of operations. The idea here is that for most of the history of mathematics, people did not do math together. People did mathematics and then wrote it up and either published a paper or a book or just wrote a letter and sent it to someone who was fairly far away. And so everyone had to agree on a certain way to do math so they could read each other's work without being in the same room together, where someone could say, oh no, I meant for you to do that first. So this is what we're going to be talking about right here. The order of operations is literally, how do you decide what happens first when you're looking at a big pile of math? So here's the way that we're going to do it. And when I say we're, I'm saying this is the order of operations that is true for all of math. Everyone agrees with this, as far as I know, with the possible caveat that in regions where you speak a language that instead of being read from left to right, gets read from right to left, I believe in those areas, sometimes math is also read from right to left. So if you're doing math in English or another Romance language, left to right. So order of operations, first things first, grouping symbols. We've got a bunch of these. We can have parentheses. Parenthesis is the singular, parentheses is the plural, and they look like that. They're the ones that people usually call the round parentheses. We also use these in writing out English as a language. There's another possibility. You could do brackets. This is also known as square brackets. They look like this. And then the other big one is braces. Now, these tend to be written, when I write it fast, they look like this. When I'm trying to make them pretty, they look like this. It kind of makes sense to me that they're called braces because they kind of look like the bent wire you would put in your mouth as braces. Now, grouping symbols include all of these plus some other things. For example, absolute value is included here. So if you've got the absolute value, all of these count the same way. So if you've got an absolute value, braces, brackets, or parentheses, these are all taken first. These are the most important. And the way we decide these, which one comes first, if we have more than one set of grouping symbols, we move inside out. So we move from the most inside, it's called nested, out to the outside. So that's number one. Grouping symbols are one. Second thing we do is if you see any exponents, you got to do the exponents next. The third level, and you'll notice that frequently people write multiplication first. I reverse this order to make it clear. Division and multiplication, because they're so related, they're at exactly the same level. And the way we decide which one happens is we go left to right. A reminder that if you put your hands on the table, the one on the left makes an L. So this is left to right. Unfortunately, I can't make an R on the other side. My fingers don't bend that way. And then subtraction and addition, same thing. Addition and subtraction, subtraction and addition, same level. We move left to right. So we've got these four building blocks. And even though there are only four, it can be really hard to remember all of these things. So people have come up with some mnemonics to remember it. Some people call it please for parentheses, excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That's very, very common. I'm going to recommend something slightly different. I've got grouping symbols, so that's G in pink, exponents in yellow, division. Oh, I'm going to run out of colors. Uh-oh. I should have planned ahead. Multiplication, subtraction, and I'll go ahead. I know it's a little weird. I'll do the last one is orange. And addition. There we go. Okay, so how am I going to remind you? Well, one of my students came up with this, and I just thought this was so funny. Grandmas eat exponents, grouping symbols, exponents, donuts, most, division and multiplication, Sunday, subtraction, afternoons, addition. Oh, wrong color. Oh my gosh. Look over there. What? There we go. No one out. Don't tell anyone. Shh. I'm not going to tell anyone I did that. Okay. Grouping symbols, exponents, division, multiplication, subtraction, addition. Grandmas eat donuts most Sunday afternoons. The other one I came up with was graceful, elephants, don't mind, division, multiplication, don't mind, solving, S, algebra. And is this the only things you can memorize? No, there are tons of them. The trick is that this order of operations is going to be crucial for as long as you're doing math. This is going to be the rule. There are no special order of operations. Yes, I know there's a lot going around. If you read Reddit, Casio specifically decided to program a calculator which violates these, has a special kind of order of operations. This is not the mathematical order of operations. This is something the calculator company decided to do. If you like, you can go ahead and build a calculator that says that 4 times 5 is 400. It's not true, but you can still do it. So these are the order of operations that are true and correct. Woohoo. Okay, so let's evaluate some things. I have 3 times 4 minus 2. Okay, so what do I have? It looks like I have a multiplication, which is blue. And I have a subtraction, which is purple. And I look through and I see, okay, multiplication is on level 3. Subtraction is on level 4. So this, the 3 times 4 minus 2, the multiplication is the one I'm going to do first. It also happens to be the first in line. Okay, so that's 12. And then the minus 2 just waits. I just bring it down. And then as soon as I finish the first operation, then I say 12 minus 2 is 10. Woohoo. Now, if I had done the subtraction first, I would have gotten 4 minus 2, just 2. And then if I tried to do the multiplication, 3 times 2 is 6, I would have gotten the wrong answer. So it's really important that we all agree we're going to do these in the same order. And I didn't get to decide this. This is something that was decided a long time ago. Believe it or not, before even I was born, which is surprising because, I remember the dinosaurs. So, shall we go and try some more? No. I'm going to flip over the paper. Promise that you're not going to panic. No panicking. Okay, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. Okay, maybe that one is kind of scary, but we're not going to do number 5 until we've done the other ones. So let's practice through the other ones. Just here, where's my Godzilla? Here's Godzilla. Godzilla is always here to remind you that, it's not that bad. Don't sweat it. Okay, I have 3 minus 2 plus 1. A lot of people look at this and they go, ooh, I'm going to do the plus first. And so let us refer to our handy dandy sheet that we've made over here. And we're going to see, okay, I've got subtraction and addition. Subtraction and addition are in the same level. They're both in level 4. And I'm supposed to work left to right. And L to R. So we go from the left to the right. So I am supposed to go from the left to the right. So I'm going to approach this one first and this one second. So what does that look like? Well, let me give us a little bit more space. Don't look at what's under. Don't worry about that. If I've got 3 minus 2 plus 1, I have to do the subtraction first. Even though that's weird, some people are like, no, addition always goes first. And it's like, no, if addition is written second, it goes second. 3 minus 2 is, you got it, it's 1. Then I bring down the plus 1. 1 plus 1 is 2. You guys are awesome. Brilliant. Yay. Shall we do another one? Yes, let's do another one. Okay. I'm going to write this one really big because I think it's hard to see on the video. 6 divided by 3 times 2. Yet again, a lot of people were told always do multiplication first. I'm here to tell you, I'm sorry, you are misinformed. Why? I don't know. I don't know a lot. I don't understand, but my job is to come in and try to make sense of things and help you make sense of things. So I will tell you, absolutely, division and multiplication are on the same level. They're kind of almost the same thing. So division and multiplication happen in the same level, left to right. So again, we're going to go left to right, which means I'm going to do the division first. So what is 6 divided by 3? You're right, it's 2. Then I'm going to bring down the times 2, and 2 times 2 is 4. Woohoo, you guys are awesome. We're doing great. See, it's piece of cake. No big problems. Everything's going to be fine. Don't look under Godzilla. Don't look under Godzilla. There we go. Okay, so this is a little bit hard to see. Let me write it again. I've got 3 times 2 cubed. Now it's getting interesting. The 2 operations I've got is multiplication. Okay, that's in the 3rd level. That's part of my division and multiplication level right there. But then I also have an exponent, and my exponent is the 2nd level. Exponents come first. So 3 times 2 cubed. I'm going to do the 2 cubed first because it's an exponent. So the 3 comes down. The 2 cubed is 8. 3 times 8 is 24. You're right. Woohoo. Okay. So I'm going to move Godzilla and no one's going to panic. We're going to move through this carefully together. Okay, I know it's a lot. I agree, it's a lot. I even wrote this and I know it's a lot. So let me write it. Again, my first solution for you is if something is scary, write it big. It's counterintuitive because we don't want to make things we're scared of bigger. But if you write it big, it's easier to see that it's just a bunch of numbers. Ooh, this has got lots of interesting moving parts. I probably will not finish in this sheet. I'll probably have to go for another sheet, but that's okay. We can do that. Okay, order of operation. Let me scooch this over a little bit so you can see both of them. First thing we want to look for, very first thing, grouping symbols. Grandmas or graceful? Do I have any grouping symbols? Yes, I do. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble in a mirror image making this straight. I've got the brackets. Now I'm not going to use the same colors I used here because I just don't have any more colors. But I want to highlight the fact that the brackets go together and the parentheses go together. And if highlighting it helps, then use it. If highlighting annoys you, then don't do it. Totally up to you. Now the rule for grouping symbols is inside out. The name for this is that the parentheses are nested inside of the brackets. So nesting is like a little baby bird. And so these are inside. So we're going to work inside here first. And inside here, I've got an 8 and a minus and a 4 squared. And if I look here, subtraction is actually usually the last thing, among the last things we do. The squared is going to come first because it's an exponent. So I'm going to work right there. So watch as my hand does not fall off my arm. I'm writing the whole thing again, and all I'm going to do is evaluate the exponent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just be very careful, not use any shortcuts, do just purely what order of operations says to do. Are there shortcuts? Oh my gosh, there are so many shortcuts. Am I going to show them to you right now? Nope. I think shortcuts are much better when you find them yourself, especially with this. So in the beginning, these are going to be slow problems because you're going to go through very carefully. Once you start to get the hang of it, you'll start to see certain patterns. When you do that, awesome. If you see something you think is a shortcut, you might want to check with me or with tutors. Sometimes things that look like patterns, sometimes they don't always work. So you want to get some advice like, is this going to be okay if I do this? And we can help you out there. I'm still working inside the parentheses, and I'm going to evaluate that piece. And again, I know this is annoying, but I am going to continue to write the whole problem. 8 minus 16. 8 take away 16. I had $8. I spent $16. I ended up with a negative 8 right there. And I'm going to leave there for a second. I will be right back. I'm sorry, I didn't fix. Quiet. And I'm back. I'm sorry, there were mice in the walls. I had to ask them to be very, very quiet. Because sometimes when you tell mice that you're about to make a math video, they say they can't tell because they didn't notice. Okay. So we are inside the brackets. And inside the brackets, I've got 2 plus 3, and then a squared, negative 8 squared. And then I also have something else sneaky. I have a multiplication here. I've mentioned this before. This is something called implicit multiplication. And it means that if you write, say, a number right next to a parenthesis, or a number right next to a letter, or parentheses right next to each other, if you smash two things up next to each other, there is an invisible assumed multiplication between them. So I've got 3 operations. I've got an addition, I've got multiplication, I've got parentheses, and I've got squared. Oh, there are 4 things going on there. So what should I do first? And we look through and we say, okay, inside the parentheses right here, I have just a negative 8. There's nothing to simplify. So my parentheses are almost done at this point. However, I do have this squared right outside, and exponent's supposed to take the priority. So I'm going to do the squaring. So I've got 2 plus 3 times, and then I have to do negative 8, the quantity squared. So that's negative 8 times negative 8. A negative times a negative is a positive. Hey! So we get a positive 64. Yay! And in fact, I do need another piece of paper. Okay. Personally, I never try to do math when I'm switching over to another piece of paper. So I'm going to go ahead and get back to work here. Let's see. Now the bracket had been colored blue. You notice the parentheses are gone now because we used them up. We evaluated what was going on inside. Now I have 3 numbers, 2 operations. What comes first? You're right. Multiplication. And why am I not even looking at the negative 4 and the minus 2? Because they're outside the bracket. So they're going to be later. Okay, again, negative 4, bracket, 2 plus. Now, I personally, I kind of think I know 3 times 64. I'm going to guess it's 192, but I'm going to double check that. It's 192. Yay! Again, calculators are really great from making sure that you're not making, a little mistake, when you're rushing or getting excited, you're about to have a math party. You want to make sure everything's lovely and perfectly nice for everyone. So you can double check your work. Ooh, get it out of the ring light. Sorry about that. Ooh, the ring light. The ring light follows you no matter where in the room you move. Okay, next up, I got brackets. I've only got one operation. This is the next thing I do. I get -4 times the quantity 2 plus 192. That's 194 minus 2. Okay. Now what are we going to do? Well, if you just look at it without thinking about anything, you see two minuses. And you think, okay, subtraction. But let's be more careful. This 4 is sitting right next to a bracket, which means implicit differentiate. Oh my goodness, I just put you guys in a calculus class. Sorry. Implicit multiplication, not differentiation. Sorry about that. Implicit multiplication. So multiplication versus subtraction. And notice some people are like, well, what about this? What about that? Isn't that subtraction? And the answer is no. If there's no number on the left, if it's just a minus sign and then a number, it's -4. So -4 times 194 minus 2. I'm going to do the multiplication next. Now that one I really don't know. So I'm going to multiply 4 times 194. And it's 776. And I hear you already. You're like, no, pardon me. No, it's not just 4. It's -4. But I can do the signs in my head. This is a positive. This is a negative. One negative, one positive gives me a negative. And then I know the number, 776. And then a -2. This is a very sad story, isn't it? -776 minus 2. Well, I mean, heck, I could just, I'd have to be careful about doing it here. If I wanted to do that, I use my negative sign, not the minus sign. -776 minus 2. And I get -778. -778. Bam. Okay, so I know we're almost done. We only have one page left, but the next page, it's a little, these are kind of exciting problems. So I'm going to stop this video now, and I'm going to go ahead and make those the next video. Woohoo! But we're almost done with order of operations. You guys are awesome. Yay, math on. Woohoo!